It's Inside Saluki Athletics, brought to you by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. At Northwind Roofing and Exteriors, they specialize in enhancing and protecting the external elements of your home, serving communities of Williamson, Franklin, and Jackson counties. Give them a call today at 618-713-1381. And today we're talking Saluki women's basketball, and we're joined by the head coach, Kelly Bond-White. And Coach, as we're recording this today, it's coming out December 2nd, but we're recording December 1st, which is really hard to believe. And I know it's been a tough start to the season for you guys in terms of record, but just kind of give us an idea of just how much this team has improved since, October 1st.
As coaches, that's really hard to do sometimes because we get so caught up on the things that we have to fix, the little changes we have to make, the self-inflicted wounds that you constantly see going on. That last night after a loss was really a reflective time for me. I stayed in the office for quite some time, just going over the film, looking at it, trying to find and see those things that I don't sometimes see in game time. And Larry, you can see the progress that's made. Probably the hardest job for this coaching staff is not X's and O's. The hardest job for this coaching staff is getting our young ladies to believe. In terms of our returners, who TT told me to stop using this term, and I don't use it lightly when I say PTSD or, that. It's just that you feel that, is this, and getting them to say, oh, no, this isn't. And I think when you look at a game like a Missouri, if you throw out the score, but more so even Arkansas, when that adversity started to hit, you see our kids not retreating as much. You see our kids moving forward. So now that's what we're working on as a staff is, okay, how do we equip them with understanding when it's self-adversity in terms of shots not going in? Okay, guys, we can't control that just yet because you're getting open looks. But let's do this. Let's get to the free throw line so you can see the ball go through the net. And then maybe that triggers a so that's the little things that we're doing because we do see the improvement with those kids. We do see teams having to adjust and play a zone or box and one because what we're doing is hurting them. Now we just got to get us to continually take those next steps forward.
Now, I remember after one of the first games of the year, you said we just have to get these girls to believe that they can sustain. And now I think we've seen a little bit more sustained success, but it's yet to result in a win. How do you coach the mental side when the results aren't exactly there yet, but they're close?
When you walk into a locker room and before you get in, because you're doing media and the kids have the pluses and minuses on the board that we do as coaches, and you hear the language that's not what you would expect in a 1-5 locker room of fingers pointing. You feel the corrections. Guys, we're that close. We got it. Da-da-da-da-da. And you hear your kid that's sitting out like, all it is play harder. Every possession, guy, sell out. Not just once diving on the floor, but we got to sell out. That culture is coming. You know that they hear it. And so, all the fancy sayings that don't focus on the win or focus on the WHE, it's coming. But your culture is moving forward because what you've been preaching, they are now starting to echo. And when you have people in a locker room that can drag it, we just got to remove those moments of frustration, self-doubt, and you see it on the floor sometimes. And I talk to our kids about that mask. When you guys have the energy, when you guys are moving forward, but when one of you starts to self-doubt, sometimes it'll connect to the next person, and we got to move that mask forward because that's when we go through our lulls and just get them to just go after it. You're equipped. Your scout. You see a kid might pop off for something that we weren't expecting. We make that slight adjustment, and you're right there. You're right there.
One player who I really think has moved the culture forward, not just in terms of what she's done on the court, but in terms of leadership, even though she's only a sophomore, is Elena Krause. And we'll chat with her later on the show. But just how much has Elena done in terms of this is a player who won in high school. This is a player who was on a winning team last year at Oral Roberts. She expects to win. How much does that help this group that hasn't won a lot quite yet.
Yeah, a kid like Elena, she's always searching. She's always searching for answers. And one of the things that we've asked her to do is trust, because coming in, she wants to win and she wants to do whatever is necessary, but she's always cognizant of like, well, I don't want to take the most shots. We got to move the ball around. We got to do this. We got to do that. And so when I catch her passing up open looks, or I catch her, I'm like, the team needs you to do that right now. The team needs you to be better. She focuses more on her defense of where she's supposed to be, and those are more of her questions than offense. But the thing that I love is that, as you said, being a part of championship cultures, you know what it takes, and what she knows it takes is the intangibles, the hustle, the heart of it. Last night's game, I saw her get on somebody, which was the first time I've seen her vocally. She's always going to lead us in energy. She's always going to go after it. But I saw her vocally get after a teammate, getting them where they were supposed to be defensively. And then on the other, hey, rotate it, get it out. We got to get a paint touch and then a kick. And so her voice is starting to develop. And that's something that I think she is learning from some of her teammates, that, okay, they trust me. I can be a little bit more vocal, because I know she sees it. And so for her, she has definitely impacted it. And I think the biggest part of her impact is wanting to be here and wanting to be a Saluki, and understanding that that means something to me. It means something to represent Southern Illinois. So I think that has been contagious, with our other kids. Her mom has had our kids at the house. They've all taken that drive, down to Oakville. They were carving pumpkins and just being in an environment of, okay, this is good. This is good. So I think she's brought a lot to that. Same thing in recruiting. She's hustling up her friends in the region, and, just all of that. Like, hey, we can win here, and don't worry about a lot of people just look at the score. Mm-hmm. And if you're not watching the games and looking at the score, you don't see that progress. But that's the impact that she's definitely having with our kids.
Now, one thing with leadership that I don't think it's talked about a ton, especially in terms of sports, is, age doesn't really matter if you've got somebody who's a really good leader. But just how often is it that you have somebody like Elena who has stepped up into a big leadership role as a sophomore?
Yeah, but like I said, I think she becomes more comfortable with that because she's seeing it through her other teammates. She's seeing it through T.T. Nelson, who isn't the most talkative, kid, but is finding her ways, because that's a kid that wants to win, so I'm going to join, with her. And so now my voice is a little louder because I know I have that with me. Kennedy, that, played at Trinity Valley, that hasn't been on the court yet, for us in a huge fashion, but she's coming from a winning culture, of a program. And that's why I came here, because I wanted to be part of building. So when you see the tears, when you see the frustration, you see that, man, they really want this. And now you put that with your veteran leadership of an Indy Green. Now it works a little bit better. So again, leadership doesn't have, you can name your captains, but leaders are going to turn you one way or the other. And I think these young people, they see that, but it helps that they have people with them that they feel like, I can move forward with this, and I'm in a safe space to say what I need to say, which might not always be, rainbows and gun drops. Yeah.
You bring up T.T. Nelson, and I think she was a big positive of that game on Sunday.
Yeah.
She didn't score,
Yeah.
but she had 10 assists, I think 8 rebounds or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
That's a player that's been a lot of fun to watch grow,
Mm-hmm.
but she's had to step into a point guard role that she traditionally hasn't been in.
Yeah.
How much growth have you seen from her when she's filled in for Kennedy Davis?
I mean, huge. The fact that she was in my office bright and early, the fact that she's texting me last night on her shot, hey, was I on balance? Was this a good, this shot selection wasn't good? No, it wasn't. But just the fact that she's up late at night texting me about the game, and then the first kid in the office today wanting to talk about the game, wanting to talk about how she can be a better support to her teammates, how to pull teammates out of funks, and that kind of stuff. Again, you don't always have to look on one side of the stat sheet for TT. Her presence is going to be felt, and I tell that to all my, especially a lot of my young, not necessarily younger, but new players that are looking to make an impact. That's what I love about TT. She doesn't just focus on one thing. her shooting never affects how she plays the rest of the game.
Yeah.
She wants to improve that because she knows it can help. But she's one of those kids that understands I can impact it from a lot of different places. And 10 assists and 2 turnovers, that's going to take us a longer ways than anything else, because that is a huge maturation process for her. And I've threatened her a couple times, but we have that relationship where I tell her, stop throwing that doggone ball all around my court. You got to value that. And so she sees it in a game like Arkansas, where we get our possessions down to 88 and only 60 shots, to last night's game where you're over 100 and the other team is in the 70s. Yeah. Okay, tempo shifted a little bit, but when you get 17 more shots than your opponent, now we gotta we have to finish that. We gotta take advantage of those possessions, and that's what we just couldn't do last night, was finish.
One player who seems to be playing kind of loose and free right now is Janiyah Thompson. Mm-hmm. Considering that it is her final year of college basketball, she came back and she wants to win. What do you think the biggest difference in Janiyah's game so far this year and these last few games has been?
Yeah, that energy. You saw the doubt early in the season, with Janiyah, and I didn't know which way that was going to go. And then all of a sudden, you saw her just say, to heck with it. I'm just going to jump out the window and rely on my faith to say, whatever happens, happens. But I'm going to play with energy. I'm going to be vocal, the most vocal player. If you walk into one of our practices, you're going to hear Janiyah's voice first. And that's what her teammates told her after the game. Like, how can y'all step on the floor and not go as hard as she does? She goes hard every possession. She goes hard every possession of practice, and she has to be exhausted from talking all the time. That's what a veteran is going to give you. I call her my grandma, my 30-year-old, whatever it is. But right now, she's playing confidently. She was the first one that came and told me, oh, Coach, that turnover, I should have ball faked her because I knew she was going in the air and I could have ripped. But she gets that. And so I don't have to say much with that. She gets that it's a live turnover that we can't defend, and I got to be better in that situation. I said, you're going to get that opportunity to do that. But the fact that and she doesn't make any excuses. She's the first one to, look at herself first, like I teach our kids do, and then correct. But she also has the humility to listen to get better, and I love that in her.
Next chance to get better is UAB tomorrow, and it's an 11 a.m. tip-off down there after a 6-hour bus ride, so kind of a unique situation. But looking at UAB, it's a team that came here last year, won by double digits, but they're facing not exactly a unique position for a mid-major basketball team in the sense that they lost a ton of their players. I think they bring back only 3 of them, and I was looking back at where some of their players from last year went, and it's Florida, it's Minnesota. Their team from last year is all over the place now. What can we expect from that game and that UAB team?
I think you're going to see them, what they're trying to do this year is a lot of penetrate and kick. They want the open 3. They want to get to the paint. If they can get to the rim, they'll get to the rim, but they're really driving to set up that 3-point shot. So we've seen that, fortunately, this season. A lot. And so what we're hoping for, and not hope they miss, but we're hoping we can get out and contest and make it a little harder on them to cut some of those threes. You can't take away everything, but if we can take away the main thing that they want to do and get them to score in other ways, again, we're trying to cut possessions and take some points off the board.
Well, Coach, appreciate the time, and we'll look forward to that long bus ride. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I got a pillow, a blanket, and some headphones and snacks for you, Larry. We'll be good.
I'm looking forward to a nice long nap. Coach, appreciate the time. Coming up next on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors, we'll chat with sophomore guard Elena Krause. That's coming up next. Back on Inside Saluki Athletics, brought to you by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. At Northwood Roofing and Exteriors, our dedicated team brings precision and expertise to every product, ensuring your home not only looks its best, but is also well guarded against the Elements. And we welcome on Saluki women's basketball's leading scorer through the first few games of the season. It's the sophomore guard from Oakville, Elena Krause. Elena, thanks for joining us.
Of course. Glad to be here.
So I was looking at your numbers from last year from Oral Roberts. In 15 games, you scored 49 points. So far this year, through 6 games, you've scored 101 points. How good is it to be back in a situation where, hey, you're on the floor consistently, but you're also one of the go-tos, and you could say the go-to right now?
Yeah, after the season last year, I was kind of just focused on getting to the next point of playing again. You know, it was kind of a setback for me last year, so I really wanted to prove a point this year. And over the summer, I just really worked hard to get my mindset back to where it is now, and I think that's really helped me. And also just having coaches that believe in me constantly has been a big, major impact.
I was talking with Kelly. We talk about you a lot in our post-game interviews, and one thing she said, I think after one of the last few games, she said, we're pushing Elena really hard right now. Take me a look inside that. How has her pushing helped you develop, and how have you kind of taken on that challenge?
I think she believes in me a lot, and she gave me a big role coming into the year, and I think just having her as a support system and constantly wanting to help me and wanting to help others even has been a major impact. And she really focuses on every single person. It's not just one directly, it's everybody, and she really pours in a lot to people, and I think that's really what I look into about her, and how much she really cares about Saluki women's basketball.
Now, I know it's been definitely a little bit of a difficult start to the season. How have you processed it? How have your teammates kind of processed it?
We've had many conversations about it as a team, like us as a group, rather than with the coaches. And I think we've talked about what it's going to take. Obviously, it's not been a great start. It's not how we wanted it to be. It's not honestly where we thought we would be. Just coming into the summer and throw far at the beginning of the year, we thought it was definitely going to be a better start for us. But when it's not, we just kind of have to sit back and look at the little things that we can fix, because everything that we look at post game is a lot of little things, and it's a lot of things that we can change, and they're easy fixes. It's just we have to want to do it. We have to just go out and actually do it instead of be talking about it.
Yeah. When you say little things, kind of give us a look at what exactly some of those little things are, because I think it's easy for us as as you as a player, as me as a broadcaster who watches every game, to think, oh yeah, the little things, but maybe explain to fans what some of those little things are.
Yeah, I would say numbers for sure. Within the game, we've had a lot more possessions than teams. We've had a lot more stat lines, like rebounds, stuff like that really plays a part in it. But it's the fact that the other things you might not see, we out-rebounded them yesterday. We had more possessions than them. So we see that part of it, but the part that we don't see is the little stuff we have to fix, like our passing. We had too many towards the end of the game where we had turnovers, and it's if we just made the one more, we made the right pass, it could turn the game around completely. And I think it's just the little parts of that we fix, or finishing around the rim in transition. We've had a lot of steals yesterday, and then we couldn't finish in transition. So it's just the small things in practice that we need to focus on to translate to the game.
Kind of switching gears here, talking about your background and your career before SIU, back-to-back titles at Oakville. I think a lot of people around here are very familiar with that. Knowing how much you won in high school, knowing how bad you want to win right now, how much does winning mean to you?
That's honestly a big thing about me, is winning. I came from a winning high school, winning AAU team. Just winning is who I am. Even my last school, we only had 8 or 9 losses on the season. So just knowing how much winning means to me is what I try to pour into these girls. I even talk about it all the time, we have to want to turn it around. We've kind of had a lot of losses, and it's been losing, but we need to reverse it and talk about winning, because that's really who we are, and that's the culture we want to build. It's just what we have to do to get to that point. But I think just really pouring it into my teammates and figuring out a way that we can make it happen. As soon as we get on a little click or a little roll, I think it'll really benefit us.
So in your second state title game at Oakville, 33 points to help win the state title. I think there are players that get tight in games like that, and then there are players like you that play to their highest. And we've even seen it here so far at SIU, where games are coming down the stretch and all of a sudden you turn it on when the team needs you. How much did that experience of doing that at the state championship level help you transition into the college game?
I think just honestly having, like I said, belief in my coaches. I always was told, like, go out and be who you are. My dad always pushed me as a younger kid too, so just being behind, being the picture of everything. Even in AAU, like, it was times in the game where it was like, okay, go get the ball, go make something happen. So just having the beliefs from a really young age about doing what I can do, and being able to expose that has really helped me.
Now, Oakville, it's a small town, and that's a really cool experience being able to, bring a state title back to a town like that. What was it like growing up in Oakville, and what was it like to, bring not only one state title, but 2 state titles back home?
I would say it means a lot, honestly, because we're such a small community. We're a very, very small town, so we have a lot of supporters. A lot of people love basketball in Southern Illinois, and just how much the fans of Oakville support. I don't think you see that a lot at like a lot of bigger schools. There's so many sports, but at Oakville we don't even have soccer. We don't even have football. We don't even really have a true track. So it's like just picking out the little sports and everyone supporting everybody. A lot of people play just every sport. So getting to see a lot of kids play at different levels at different sports.
At what point did you kind of realize, I think I can play basketball in college?
I would say probably after my 8th grade year. I really wanted to focus on it. We played in the state championship for junior high in my 8th grade year too. And just seeing that Big Four that we played on at Ren Lake, starting there, really translated. And I was like, oh, this is something I want to do. And I really focused in after that.
Who are some of your biggest influences on your career? I know you kind of mentioned your dad, but who all has helped you get to this point?
I would say every coach that has coached me. Honestly, I really have a true relationship with every single one of them. I still talk to all the coaches that have played a part in my career. Even they reach out to me after games. Still to this day, they still check in on me. They're still supporting me. I still see them interacting with my family. But even my mom has always been one to get me everywhere I need to go, whether it's tournaments, whether it's practices. I was practicing all the way in St. Louis as a 4th grader. So just getting me to those places, taking me and really knowing where I want to go, and being that support system for me.
Now, when we were in Nashville, I saw, you ran into one of your former AAU teammates from St. Louis, and I know the St. Louis basketball scene runs deep.
Yeah.
How cool is it to be a part of that, and how much do you think that has kind of pushed you?
I think a lot of good athletes come out of great programs, and there's a lot that came out of St. Louis, and there's a lot that I met at that time, and just having the relationship and keeping it along. I literally talk to every single person still to this day, so you never really forget those times or those friendships, and they really last a lifetime when people say that, especially with basketball. It's honestly something that you build a lot of relationships in, and I think it's something we don't want to ever take for granted.
So how far is that ride from Oakville to St. Louis that you probably did a lot?
Well, St. Louis really is not that far, about like 40 minutes, but I practiced at the Brad Beal Center in Chesterfield, so a little bit farther, about an hour, 15, hour and a half.
Yeah, so you've had to sacrifice a lot of time in the car.
Yep.
Talking about Southern Illinois and being back in your home region after you were away in Oklahoma for your first year, what does it mean to not only represent Oakville, but represent Southern Illinois as a whole?
I think it really shows the true support that I've had. A lot of people come out, support me, constantly asking me, like, hey, when can I come? Can I get tickets? Like, people are constantly reaching out, and I think it helps me, honestly, because just to have that whole support system and know people are wanting to watch Saluki women's basketball really has helped, and it just makes me want to, the little kids that are watching, make me put on for them, and hopefully keep the culture running in Southern Illinois and get more Southern Illinois athletes here.
Lastly, what's the next step, for you as a team? I know, getting that first win over a D1 team, that's the next step, but it seems like you've taken steps forward in your game after game, a little bit more efficient every single time out. What's the next step for you?
I think, honestly, just locking in and focusing on my team and getting them to the next point of where we need to go. I think there's just a little bit of hesitancy right now, and I think we just need to focus in on practice, and it starts there, and really build our team chemistry even more than what it is now. Obviously, we're making improvements, but it's not quite going the way we want it to yet, so just doing what we can to continue doing what I can for my team. Just keep doing what I'm doing, hoping that other players will keep stepping up. I think it's a lot about that, too. I think we have players that are wanting to step up. It's just whether or not it happens.
Well, Elena, it's been a lot of fun to watch you play so far this season. Really appreciate your time, and it's great to have you here. Welcome back home. Big thank you to Elena, and a big thank you to Saluki's head coach, Kelly Bond-White, for joining us on today's edition of Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. Experience the Northwood Roofing and Exteriors difference, where your home's exterior is our priority. Saluki's women's hoops back in action down at UAB tomorrow, bright and early at 11 a.m. We'll talk to you then, and until next week, this has been Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Northwood Roofing and Exteriors.